Page 44, On the Levee. A recital piece, last piece in the book. Well, that's nice. This is another one of those fun things. If you learn it really well, memorize it, and you can play it for people when they want to hear you play something. It's a good piece for that. It has a few tricky spots in it. I'd like to talk about it. I'm going to start with the right hand. At the beginning, watch the rhythm. Now we're in 4/4 time. You got eighth notes, so you're going to count them 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So watch that. Shouldn't be a problem, I hope. That rhythm is in a lot of places. Like in the second measure, same rhythm. But then in the third measure, we need the staccatos. So make sure the staccatos are there. Now, starting in the second line, we actually start the piece, believe it or not. The first line is an introduction. It's a different section, and I know that because if you look at the end of the first line, there's a double bar. And a lot of times in these pieces, when they have an introduction, they'll end the introduction with a double bar because it's one section, and you can have sections in music, right? Did we talk about this somewhere? I don't know. But they're divided by double bars. So you have one section, now another section. So it's a different musical idea being presented. So the real song starts with the second line on page 44. Watch the staccato. A nice finger staccato if you want, or a wrist staccato, either one. It's loud. Finger may not be loud enough. But a wrist, bum, 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 will do it. And then the second measure is not staccato. Got that rhythm again that we had at the beginning, at the first measure. And then staccato again. And then the third line down. Not staccato, and now staccato, and not staccato. And get over to page 45. Last measure, first line. That is a 1/4 on that, because you need the fifth finger for the first measure of the second line. So it's same thing in the second line, second measure, 1/4. Did I mention that this is in the key of F major? 1 flat, all B's are flatted? No? Oh, okay. And then it goes back to the original stuff that was on page 44. Then the last line. Look at what's going on, because you ended the third line here. Now you got to go up. There's no rest, so you have to look at the keyboard and do it fairly quickly. You got to go from here to here. And those notes, second measure, same notes, an octave lower. And I recommend second finger on that last note. You can use thumb if you want, but you just used a thumb there. So second finger works for me. And that's the right hand. Now the left hand, back to page 44, when the left hand comes in the second measure, it's the same rhythm as the right hand just played. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and same. And then in the second line, and this is where it can get tricky, because you're playing on the weak beats, or the up beats as we may call them. The strong beats in a measure in 4/4 time is 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what we think. But this is on 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. It's so you have to keep that in mind. 1, 2, 3. And don't play on 1 and 3 because you'll want to. So you got to watch that very carefully. And it is staccato all across the second line there on page 44. Then when you get down to the third line, the first measure is not staccato anymore. And then it goes back to staccato, etc. Then, top of page 45, second measure, the left hand is not staccato. And now the left hand and the right hand are more or less doing the same rhythm for a while. Fifth finger on that F. And then we're back to the same stuff we had before. And that takes you down to the last line on page 45. Left hand, you have the B flat C, then the A C, then go an octave lower, same notes, and then here. Same articulation as the right hand. Like so. And that's this piece. Now, not too bad, but if you do it with the metronome, eventually it's going to move. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a nice piece to learn to play really well and just memorize. The pedaling, there's only a little bit of pedaling in it over on page 45. Second line, first measure is legato pedal. So you're going to push the notes down, then the pedal. Then when you play the next half notes, you just play the notes first and then lift the pedal up and put it back down. And then lift the pedal up as you play the notes in the next measure. So we hear a staccato. And it's done that way through that line. You see the first measure and third measure of that line is that way, and then you don't pedal again until the end. And at the end, last measure, you push the notes down and then the pedal, and then the pedal and the note hands come up at the same time, and that's the pedal. So let's try this out. It's not too bad. It's 4/4 time to give you 4 counts. We're going to go really slow because we want to check notes and rhythms, but you can speed it up and add the dynamics and all that stuff later as you learn to play it better and better and better. Now, there's a little bit of pedaling there at the top of page 44, the end of the last line, but it's no big deal. It's just one measure. You can handle that, I'm sure. Just at the end of the measure, when the hands come up, the pedal comes up too. So the right hand goes here, left hand, foot's on the pedal. 1 and 2 and ready and go and. 4 and 4 and 2, 3, 4. 4. 4 off. I don't do a lot of demos because I don't want you copying me, but I'll give you an idea of what this piece might sound like. It's just my interpretation. Just as long as you're doing what the music is telling you to do, you can do anything you want. Just don't violate what the music is telling you. So this is how I might play this piece.